everybody, and welcome to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World. Leading Entrepreneurs of the World features entrepreneurs, founders, and business leaders presenting on cutting-edge topics and the latest industry developments. Our goal is to provide the global business and entrepreneurial communities with a window into the minds of those who are shaping the future of the world. Today, we're very pleased to welcome global entrepreneur Samiran Sengupta. Samiran is the co-founder and CEO of JustMyRoots. JustMyRoots is an interstate food delivery system through which you can stay connected to your roots. Samiran, it is a great pleasure to have you here with us today to hear more about optimized food supply chain, maximizing a person's culinary experience, and EQ. Thank you, and welcome to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World.
Thank you, Stelios, and thanks for providing me this opportunity to speak in such a great forum. So, connecting a person's culinary experience and EQ is something not too many people does it in today's world. People order food on a daily basis. If I'm hungry, I'll order for some food. But how does that change my EQ quotient? It's something that not too many people think about, right? I think that's a fantastic subject that we have put forward today. And we are looking at how does optimization of food supply chain actually maximizes that, and we'll see as we move forward in this presentation as to how we move perishable food across different cities, states, and countries. There's a lot coming up in this presentation, and I believe that we will be able to provide more information to people about the fantastic opportunity that has come up in most part of the world. Okay, so I am Samiran Sengupta, the CEO and founder for JustMyRoots. JustMyRoots is basically a nostalgia. It's an experience. It's sublime. So we will talk about that later, but today I'm here to speak about how optimizing food supply chain we can maximize people's culinary experience and their IQ. Thank you very much. We are actually talking about perishable food, not the non-perishable ones. There are different ways to handle perishable food and non-perishable food, and the most difficult part today in most part of the world is moving perishable food, keeping it fresh, keeping it something which is edible even after a few hours or days for that matter. So we'll talk about in this presentation, we'll talk about what kinds of food supply chain has been established across the world, how some of the companies are working in US and India and few other countries. But the most interesting part out here is to see what is the EQ quotient. I mean, how's the connection of the culinary experience and the EQ that we are trying to bring forward. Okay. As I move to the next page, the next screen, we'll see out here how food and nostalgia is connected. I'm sure as you see this, and some of the ones related to some of the topics out here related to food and nostalgia, grandma's legacy, and the psychologists explaining why food memories can feel so powerful. Think about all the time that you have spent in your early years, right? Whether it's your mom doing something for you or you doing something for your loved ones, it is that moment. It is that specific moment that you think of when you see a bowl of a certain food. Food and nostalgia are so closely connected that it invokes a very different kind of feeling when we see certain kind of food. For example, if you see a dish that is being prepared in a restaurant, something that your grandmother is to prepare or your mother is to prepare, the first thing that comes to your mind is, this may or may not taste like my mother's food, right? So everything that you do with food is so closely connected with nostalgia. Just think about it. Anything that you eat, it takes you back to a certain situation. It takes you back to a certain location. It takes you back into your memories and says, hey, I really enjoyed it there. Oh, that's an amazing feeling. Okay. So now what we are trying to do out here is we are trying to show you how food and nostalgia is connected and how we will take this connection back from the stomach to the next level, which is called the way to a man's heart. It initially used to be the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Didn't we know this before? We always knew it. But things are changing now. You know, at the present age, well, it has come to the stomach, but now it is moved from the stomach to the mind. Everything that we do today, like for example, if I place an order for a food, I mean, it can be delivered in 15 minutes, it can be delivered in half an hour, but there's certain food which is not available to you in your close vicinity. Maybe, for example, if in the States, you are in the East Coast and you wanted to have some food from the West, how do you have that? And you were in the West during your early childhood and you moved to the East, and or the vice versa. And then how do you connect back? What is your root connect? Everything that you eat, maybe it reminds you of your first love. Maybe it reminds you about your first victory, you know, but it's that food which connects it back. It always, every food has some nostalgic value to it, right? And now today we are discussing about how something moves from your heart. I mean, something moves from your stomach to your mind, okay? And that's where we call that it's a direct impact to my EQ. I will take you through the next slide, and this is where we'll spend some time, because you see, I'll put some testimonials out here. And these are testimonials which we have seen in many places. So I can talk to you about a family in Chennai, which keeps ordering from a certain organization, which brings them food from their home city. You know, they have traveled from, for example, from Calcutta to Chennai, and they miss their food. So what is it? Today, the food comes in and we see it as a food packet, we open it, we eat it. But when we had a discussion with that family, they said, you know what, guys, you guys have started making us smile much more than what we used to smile before. Every time we get the packet in our hand, it makes us so nostalgic in terms of, oh, this is the taste that we always used to have. Oh my God, I mean, and you know, we end up buying so much more because we don't know where to stop. We feel like having everything that we used to have earlier, right? Well, somebody else says, you know what, I'm able to stay connected to my roots. Okay, so here is someone who's in New York, and from New York, something moves over to, you know, Philadelphia for that matter. Yeah. So the feeling is outstanding. You don't know how to explain that. Yeah. So somebody says, you know what, anything, any kind of food that comes from my city or from my country, it makes me so nostalgic. So think about a situation. You are in Europe and you get something from US or from Asia or from somewhere which you never expected. It invokes a different feeling. It's a nostalgia beyond any other things, right? So this is something that we are trying to bring forward and say, hey, you know what? All this thing is good. All these things are good. How do you really do that? Today we know that you can get your food from within the city. And for example, you know, 15 miles within my vicinity, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to get that food 15 miles. But by the way, I am at least 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles away from my home city, or something that I really like and I want to have it. Is there a way to get it? So this is a question that was, should I say, 3 years back was almost unimaginable. But today, people are talking about it. People are talking about, hey, I want to have the food from there. I don't care how it comes, as long as it comes in a very fresh condition to me. So let us see, how are these heartwarming testimonials, where are they coming from? Let us understand this. So we need to establish this connect. This connect is already established in some part of the world, some parts of the world. Here we're talking about the food coming from 2,000 miles away. Here we are talking about food coming from a different state, different city, maybe a different country. Someone in Spain wants to have something from Paris. Someone in for example, in Netherlands wants to have something from Spain. Is that possible? It is possible. The technology is around. Maybe there is something that we need to look at, whether it's possible in Europe. But again, it's definitely there in the US. It's definitely there in India. And the GCC countries, there are many people who are trying to do this, okay? But again, the most important part out here is this value for money? That's number one. Does it become too expensive? Because all the way the product is coming from one country to the other or one city to the other? Does it make it prohibitive? Okay. And what kind of packaging are you doing? When would I receive it? Would I receive it in 2 hours, in 10 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours? Will the product be good? Can I eat it? Well, I mean, it's all so many questions that people have. And of course, we cannot forget the import laws related to food across different countries. So if we connect all of these three together, then we establish a connect where we say, hey, I can do this. I can still have all those dishes that I used to have before. I can have that food from my mom. I'm staying 1,000 miles away from my mom and all my loved ones, and I want to have something that I used to have all these years. Can you send me one packet? Well, all of that is possible today. There are companies who are doing it, and we should look into how they are doing it. Okay. So we all know, so some of these are courtesy, some of the pictures out here, courtesy the support we took from Google and few other places. But again, we have to understand how this optimization happens for perishable food. I told you that we are only talking of perishable food out here because all the nostalgia that we are talking about, non-perishable, it is there. I mean, it was there 15 years back. People could easily move food from one place to the other, which are non-perishable. Most difficult and most interesting, most challenging are moving the perishable ones. There are very different kinds of ways you can do that, right? People freeze the product, they bring it down to minus 18 degrees. There are many ways to do it, okay? So let me tell you now, guys, get moving, move on. 10 to 15 miles of vicinity, that's given, that's table stake, okay? I now want to move on. I want to get it from a different place. I want to get it from a different country. It's a snob value for me. If I get people out here and I get people food from different cities, different countries, I would like to go ahead and do that. I would like to show off. I would like to say, hey, come on, you know what? Today I got you this city, this food, try it and let me know how it goes. Okay, so now to quench our thirst, now people have been traveling. So obviously for the pandemic, which was around, people have not been able to move much between cities or countries because of all the restrictions, but it's slowly going to go away. And that's when people will start thinking, oh, I had been there. Can I get something from there? I had tried that food. I had tried the specific dish over in that restaurant. Can I get it from that restaurant in maybe in somewhere in Italy, right? So that is possible. The world has changed, and this is something I must tell you has been getting a lot of traction. Okay, I could speak, and I'll speak about some of the companies who does this today, and so that you understand how it is done, what is being done, what do you get out of it. Okay, so what do we get? We need a cost-effective cold chain technology. Let me tell you, cold chain has been there for many decades. It's nothing new. You know, reefer trucks are there. There is other ways of doing cold chain, but if a $40 product becomes $400, then it's not viable. People don't mind paying a $40 product as 60 or 70 because it's coming from a very different city, because it has its own, the freight cost and stuff attached to it, right? So very important is it optimized? Is it the best possible solution that you're using? So there are many, many different kinds of solutions which are coming up. And how would you really deliver between, cities, between countries? So we're looking about some form of multimodal transportation system, which could involve flights, which could involve trains, could involve the, road transport, could be anything, right? So we're looking at a hub and spoke models as well as we move forward. So the most efficient supply chain system uses a multimodal transportation in that case, okay? We move forward and we get to see about some of the creative packagings and creative and innovative packaging that are there in the market today. So very different, very, very different kinds are used. Many of you have heard about retort packaging, nitrogen packaging. Some use dry ice, and some use some other forms of technology to make this work, right? Some of these products like the retort and the nitrogen packaging helps in terms of increasing the shelf life, but does it keep the same taste? That's a questionable and a debatable situation, because a lot of people understand that when you do nitrogen packing or you do retort packaging, you cannot keep a lot of moisture in the product. So how these different technologies handle the moisture in the product, how they ensure that the temperature is managed, is something which is extremely interesting, extremely challenging. There are not too many players in the market today because the challenge can be quite difficult, and it can be quite intimidating as well, because it's food, right? But all those people who have come up and said, hey, this can be done better, I think, and they have gone ahead and proved it, they are the people who are probably going to get into the new world. Okay, so we're going to say that the world is going to become very small. It was never that big. It was never that really huge. But again, now with the really new technologies, new supply chain, new packaging, you're going to see a lot of change coming up. So if somebody in Europe visited India and wanted to have something like that, if the laws permit, then every food from India can actually go to everywhere, and it's vice versa from any other part of the world. And if you had been to Dubai, and in Dubai you wanted some of those shawarmas, which were like mouth-watering, absolutely fantastic, can I get them somewhere else? Remember, you can always get a clone of it in every city. People say that, hey, why do I need to travel? Why do I need to get it from all those places? In my own city, I can get all that. Don't forget, one of the most important ingredient that is used in every food is water. And water never tastes the same between two places. So you can never, ever have the same taste unless the water is carried from one city to the other, which is really difficult, right? So don't believe if somebody says it tastes the same, it's a very debatable question. Because since the water is not the same, and the water is one of the most important ingredient in most of the food, if you don't have any element of water in it, which is very difficult, then probably you can say about that. So it is very important that we understand that you can always have the cloned food. When I say the word clone, I literally don't mean it. I mean a similar type of food, but it cannot be the same taste and the same food as we speak. So as we move on, we'll see some of these companies who are doing it today, okay? Many of you have heard about Goldbelly in the US, right? They use dry ice. They keep food at minus 18 degrees Celsius, and they do an amazing piece of work, moving food from one city, one state to the other, and they have been doing it for a pretty long time. They have kind of mastered the art of sending the products, fantastic packaging, excellent ways of managing the supply chain, and they're very successful in what they do. So in India, we have JustMyRoots. So JustMyRoots have been also there from for the last 2.5 years, and they have been moving. We have been moving products from one city to the other. Every kind of product. Like, for example, you like one of the Indian dishes in Mumbai, and you are staying in Chennai or in Delhi, then that dish from Mumbai can be easily traveled and taken to you with the same level of freshness, with the same taste, which people have been really ordering and enjoying. Okay. So if you see JustMyRoots, we use the technologies, we use some technology from Israel and India, and it keeps the food fresh between 5 and 8 degrees Celsius. The most important part in this entire technology that JustMyRoots uses is keep the moisture intact. We all understand that moisture is responsible for all the taste, for all the aroma in the food, but they're also responsible for the food to go waste. So it's extremely important that a specific temperature and a specific level of humidity and moisture is kept in the food alive. Okay, so that is something that is being done. We're currently working with many institutes to create a patentable product, patentable packaging, which will keep the food fresh for 72 hours, which basically means that you can reach any part of the world. Okay. And these people are available in 19 cities, doing about 20,000 zip codes. So, so what you see today, what you have seen today actually is that the world is changing. Okay. There is a huge traction that is happening, and people have now, waken up to the idea that, wow, I can eat anything that I want. It is not that the food of this city that I want to have, anything along 5 kilometers or 5 miles around me, but I can get it from 5,000 miles, but still that food would be affordable. Still that food would make sense, and we would love to enjoy that food, right? So all these things are being done because we are talking of supply chains of the future. Okay, these are the same supply chain which will probably utilize in some form or other, the robotics technology, where movement between a city can be talked about. And once this entire thing moves forward, I believe that there is a significant opportunity for all these kind of companies worldwide, because this craze and love for food is never going to go. So and staying within that technology, within that ecosystem, will actually help these more companies to come into this area and operate. Right? If you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer them. And please you can contact me at care@justmyroots.com. And I would love to answer most of your queries. Right? Thank you. Have a good day, everybody, to everyone in every part of the world. And let me know if I can help you with any information. Thank you very much.